Enter any luxury dealership in America in 2026 with $70,000 in your pocket, and the salesperson standing in front of you is going to explain, in 12 different ways over the next 2 hours, that the vehicle you are about to sign for is worth every dollar more than the mainstream competitor sitting on the lot down the street at $30,000. Sarcastic. Better engineering, better materials, better prestige, better long-term durability because premium brands, in the words the salesperson has been trained to use, always outlast the mainstream competition. Every one of those claims sounds reasonable on the test drive. Size. Every one of them collapses when you compare the documented data. Because there is one specific matchup currently on the American market in 2026 where the $30,000 mainstream SUV outlasts the $70,000 luxury alternative on every single one of the 5 most important documented durability metrics that exist in the automotive database. Every single one. Not most, not the majority, all 5. In this video, I am going to lay out the proof for exactly that head-to-head matchup in countdown order across 5 specific proof points from 5 to 1. I am going to show you the RepairPal database entry that documents the annual maintenance gap at nearly 3 times higher on the luxury vehicle than on the mainstream vehicle. I am going to show you the CarEdge major repair probability data that puts the mainstream vehicle at the lowest documented probability of any vehicle brand in the entire American automotive market. I am going to show you the iSeeCars long mileage survival probability that documents the mainstream vehicle at 3.5 times the industry average of reaching 250,000 miles. I am going to walk you through exactly what is inside the transmission on each vehicle and why one contains 0 traditional wear items while the other contains dozens. And I am going to lay out the 10-year total cost of ownership math with real dollar figures on both vehicles so you can see for yourself exactly which one costs more across the ownership window. Stay with me all the way to the end because at the end of this video, I am going to be honest about where the $70,000 luxury vehicle genuinely wins, and I am going to name the specific alternatives in the luxury segment that actually deliver the value the $70,000 contender fails to deliver. If you are shopping in either price range in 2026, this is the specific video the salesperson at either dealership does not want you to see. The brochure says the $70,000 vehicle is worth every dollar more. The RepairPal database, the CarEdge database, the iSeeCars database, and the KBB database all say the same thing in unison, and what they say is not what the salesperson is going to tell you. Before I lay out the 5 proof points, you deserve to know exactly which 2 vehicles I am comparing, and you deserve an honest introduction to both of them so no one can accuse me of stacking the deck. Curious. In the mainstream corner sits the Toyota RAV4 26 X3, base pricing at $31,900, 100% hybrid lineup for 2026 with no gasoline-only variant remaining. Combined output at 226 horsepower on the front-wheel drive trim and 236 on the all-wheel drive trim. EPA combined fuel economy at 48 city and 42 highway on the front-wheel drive trim. Toyota hybrid synergy drive with a naturally aspirated 2.5-litre Atkinson cycle engine and a planetary power split transmission that has been in continuous production since 1997. Excited. Transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty on 2020 and newer vehicles. Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 standard on every trim. The Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 is genuinely the mainstream compact SUV sweet spot in the entire American market, and it is not a small vehicle relative to its price point. It is a real family compact SUV with real cargo capacity, a real all-wheel drive system on higher trims, and real modern safety technology. In the luxury corner sits the BMW X5 2024. Base pricing on the gas trim starts at approximately $65,000, with meaningfully higher pricing on the mid-tier trims and the plug-in hybrid variant, and pricing above $90,000 on the higher performance variants that share the fundamental platform. For the honest comparison to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, I am specifically holding the reference point at approximately $70,000, which is a common transaction price on a well-equipped BMW X5 2024 gas trim. The BMW X5 2024 uses a turbocharged inline six-cylinder engine on the base gas trim, paired to an 8-speed ZF conventional automatic transmission with a torque converter and internal friction clutch packs. Combined output on the base trim reaches 375 horsepower. The interior materials, particularly on higher trims, are genuinely superior to what the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 delivers at any price point. The driving dynamics feel more polished at highway speeds. The infotainment system feels more modern than what the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 offers, although it also removes physical climate controls that senior buyers and long-keep buyers specifically ask about. The BMW X5 2024 is genuinely a well-engineered vehicle. Nothing on this video is going to argue otherwise on the engineering or driving experience metrics. What this video is going to argue, with documented data across 5 separate independent sources, is that the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 outlasts the BMW X5 2024 on the specific durability and cost metrics that matter for the buyer who plans to actually own the vehicle for 8 years or more. And it does so at a purchase price gap of nearly $40,000, which is money that stays in your pocket rather than money added to the base cost of ownership. Let me show you the proof. Point number 5 in the head-to-head between the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 at $32,000 and the BMW X5 2024 at $70,000 is annual maintenance cost, documented on the RepairPal database that aggregates real service invoice data across 345 different vehicle models on the American market. Curious, RepairPal anchors the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 at approximately $429 per year in annual maintenance at a 4 out of 5 reliability score, ranked number 3 out of 26 competing compact SUVs. That number is not brand average data. That is model-specific data on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 lineage specifically, and the number is documented across the RepairPal database as one of the cheapest documented annual maintenance costs in the entire American SUV market. Surprised, RepairPal anchors the BMW X5 2024 at approximately $1,166 per year in annual maintenance across the BMW brand, 2.7 times the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 number, every single year, on documented data. The plug-in variant of the BMW X5 2024 runs meaningfully higher still, because the additional complexity of the plug-in architecture increases the required service intervals on multiple systems that the base gas trim does not have. Let me walk you through why the gap is that large, because it is not because BMW service technicians are more expensive per hour, although they are. And it is not because the BMW X5 2024 uses more expensive parts, although it does. It is because the engineering choices under the hood of each vehicle produce fundamentally different maintenance requirements across the ownership window. The Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 uses a naturally aspirated 2.5-litre Atkinson cycle engine paired to the Toyota Hybrid Synergy drive system. Naturally aspirated means no turbocharger to service or replace. Atkinson cycle means lower thermal stress on every component in the combustion chamber. The dual injection design means the intake valves stay clean during normal operation. The hybrid architecture means the gasoline engine runs less frequently than a conventional gasoline engine would across the same mileage, extending the practical service life on every wear component. Every one of those engineering choices reduces the required service intervals across the ownership window. The BMW X5 2024 base gas trim uses a turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engine with direct injection only. The turbocharger requires periodic inspection and eventual replacement at high mileage. The direct injection design produces carbon buildup on the intake valves that requires walnut shell blasting at somewhere between $500 and $800 per service at typical intervals of every 50 to 70,000 miles. The vehicle uses synthetic oil at a shorter oil change interval than the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 because the turbocharged engine runs hotter and stresses the oil more aggressively. Every one of those engineering choices increases the required service intervals across the ownership window. Multiply the annual cost gap of $737 per year across 10 years of ownership. That is $7,370 kept in your pocket if you buy the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 rather than the BMW X5 2024. $7,000 in annual maintenance costs alone, not counting purchase price, not counting depreciation, not counting major repair events. Proof point number 5. Documented. Moves to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3. Proof point number 4 is CarEdge Major Repair Probability, which measures the documented percentage chance that a vehicle of a given brand will experience a major repair event of $500 or more within the first 10 years of ownership. Curious. This is not annual maintenance. This is the specific probability of writing an unexpected repair check that was not on the manufacturer service schedule. CarEdge anchors the Toyota brand at 14.97% probability over 10 years, the lowest documented number of any vehicle brand in the entire American automotive market. Surprised? Every other brand in America runs above the Toyota number. Lexus comes in second at 18.75%, meaningfully lower than industry average but still above Toyota. Honda at 19.95%. Industry average sits above 20%, and BMW brand major repair probability sits meaningfully above the industry average, not slightly above, meaningfully above. The plug-in hybrid variants across the segment push the probability higher still because Consumer Reports data confirms plug-in hybrid vehicles produce approximately 80% more reportable problems than self-charging hybrids across the first 5 years of ownership. That data applies to the plug-in variant of the BMW X5 2024 specifically. Let me walk you through what a major repair event actually looks like on each vehicle, because the difference matters more than the raw percentage. On the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, the major repair events that show up in the CarEdge data are typically service items like alternator replacement, air conditioning compressor service, or suspension component replacement at high mileage. Predictable wear items on any vehicle. The Toyota Hybrid Synergy drive itself, meaning the engine and the planetary ECVT transmission that anchor the drivetrain, is essentially absent from the major repair database because the fundamental engineering does not have the failure modes that produce major drivetrain events. On the BMW X5 2024, the major repair events that show up in the CarEdge data include turbocharger replacement, cooling system component failure that can produce head gasket damage, electrical system failures on the complex driver assist and infotainment platforms, and transmission service events on the 8-speed ZF conventional automatic. Every one of those repair categories runs meaningfully more expensive per event than the equivalent repair on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, both because the parts cost more and because the labor hours required to access the components are higher on the more complex platform. Now here is what the salesperson at either dealership will never mention. The transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 protects the single most expensive potential drivetrain repair across the ownership window, and it transfers to the second owner under Toyota terms without restrictions on 2020 and newer vehicles. That coverage means the buyer knows the worst-case repair on the vehicle is covered by the manufacturer for a decade or 150,000 miles, whichever comes first. The equivalent battery warranty terms on the plug-in variants of European luxury vehicles typically do not transfer to the second owner or transfer with meaningful restrictions. Every dimension of proof point number 4 points at the same conclusion. Documented major repair probability at the lowest in the industry on the vehicle where major drivetrain events are essentially absent from the database, wrapped in the deepest transferable warranty coverage available on the most expensive potential repair. Proof point number 4 moves to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3. Proof point number 3 is documented long mileage survival, measured on the iSeeCars long-term longevity study that aggregates documented mileage from nearly 400 million vehicles across the American market. Curious. Their published analysis puts the industry average at 4.8% of vehicles reaching 250,000 miles. 4.8%. 95% of the SUVs currently on American roads never cross that threshold. Impressed. Their published analysis puts the Toyota brand at 17.8% probability of reaching 250,000 miles across the brand lineup, 3.5 times the industry average. Excited. Their published analysis puts the specific Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 lineage at approximately the same 17.8% probability, the highest documented probability in the entire compact SUV segment. And their published analysis puts luxury European brands, including the BMW brand, meaningfully below the industry average on long mileage survival, not above. Read that sentence again, because most buyers assume the opposite. The luxury vehicles do not survive to high mileage at higher rates than the mainstream competition. On the documented iSeeCars data, they survive at lower rates. The reason is not that BMW engineering is worse than Toyota engineering. It is that BMW vehicles are more expensive to keep on the road as they age, and their owners disproportionately trade them in or scrap them before they cross the 250,000-mile mark, while Toyota vehicles continue to run reliably enough that their owners keep them past that threshold at a substantially higher rate. When you extend the analysis to the specific mileage range past 350,000 miles, the documented examples in the field are almost entirely Toyota hybrid synergy drive vehicles, including the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 lineage, not Toyota gasoline engines, not competing brands, HSD specifically. That is field data that confirms what the CarEdge major repair probability data would predict. The vehicles that reach 350,000 miles reliably are the vehicles whose engineering does not have the major repair modes that end most vehicles at 250,000. The Toyota hybrid synergy drive on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 has been in continuous production since the original Toyota Prius 2024 lineage launched in 1997, 28 straight years of continuous refinement, and KBB has named the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 platform best resale value in its class for 6 consecutive years, with a 5-year residual around 53%. That resale value is the price the used market pays to acquire Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 vehicles specifically because the market has priced in the long mileage survival probability. The used market does not pay premium prices for vehicles it believes will fail early. It pays premium prices for vehicles the field data has proven survive longer. Proof point number 3 moves to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3. Proof point number 2 moves from statistical data into the specific engineering under the hood of each vehicle, because the transmission on each is where the durability gap becomes structural rather than statistical. Inside the transmission of the BMW X5 2024 base gas trim sits an 8-speed ZF conventional automatic transmission. Curious? Let me walk you through exactly what that transmission contains. A torque converter transferring engine crankshaft rotation into hydraulic pressure and then back into rotation on the input shaft. Multiple sets of friction clutch packs engaging and disengaging every time the vehicle shifts gears. Thoughtful. Multiple sets of bands wrapping around drums to lock elements in place during specific gear ratios. Shift solenoids controlling hydraulic pressure to actuate the clutches. Multiple sets of planetary gears providing the mechanical ratios. Every one of those components produces microscopic wear on the friction surfaces every time the vehicle shifts, which happens dozens of times in a typical drive to the grocery store. Across 200,000 miles of ownership, the accumulated wear on those friction surfaces on any conventional automatic transmission produces the specific failure pattern that requires either a full rebuild or a full replacement of the transmission at a service invoice that typically runs between $3,000 and $6,000 depending on the specific vehicle. The 8-speed ZF conventional automatic in the BMW X5 2024 is genuinely a well-engineered example of the type. But it still contains every one of the components I just listed, and every one of those components still experiences the same fundamental wear pattern that eventually produces the failure. Inside the transmission of the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 sits the Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive Planetary Power Split device. Let me walk you through exactly what that transmission contains. 1 set of planetary gears. 2 electric motors coordinating the load sharing electronically. That is the entire transmission. there is no torque converter. There are no friction clutch packs. There are no bands. There are no shift solenoids. The planetary gears rotate on well-lubricated bearings at speeds and loads far below their design limits. And the electric motors run inside their design envelope indefinitely as long as the coolant system does its job. There are essentially no traditional wear items inside the transmission. Read that sentence again, because it is the specific engineering reason why the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 and its Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive siblings have accumulated almost no documented pattern of internal transmission failure across the 28-year continuous production history of the design. The transmission does not fail because there is essentially nothing inside it that experiences meaningful wear under normal operation. There are Toyota Hybrid Synergy Drive vehicles operating in customer hands today with original planetary ECVT transmissions past 350,000 miles that have never been touched internally on the original fluid schedule, with essentially no documented failures. Compare that specific engineering picture to the failure pattern that will eventually show up on the 8-speed ZF conventional automatic transmission in the BMW X5 2024 at somewhere between 180,000 and 240,000 miles, and you understand the specific reason why the mainstream vehicle at the lower price point genuinely outlasts the luxury vehicle at the higher price point. It is not marketing, it is engineering. Proof point number 2 moves to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3. And proof point number 1. The single most important number in the entire matchup between the $32,000 Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 and the $70,000 BMW X5 2024 is the 10-year total cost of ownership figure. Curious, CarEdge tracks total cost of ownership across 10 years, aggregating purchase price, depreciation, fuel, insurance, maintenance, and repair events into a single documented dollar figure. On the CarEdge database, the Toyota brand comes in at approximately $5,470 10-year cumulative cost above the purchase price, the lowest documented figure of any mainstream brand in the entire American automotive market. Impressed, the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 tracks the brand average number and lands in the lowest tier of the segment. The BMW brand comes in meaningfully above the industry average of $10,504, which itself is roughly double the Toyota number. Let me lay out the specific components of the gap because the math becomes indefensible once you actually see it. Component 1 is the initial purchase price. The Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 starts at $31,900. The BMW X5 2024 starts at approximately $65,000, and the reference point I have been using at $70,000 for a well-equipped trim. Gap approximately $35,000 to $38,000. Component 2 is the annual maintenance cost across the ownership window. $429 per year on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, approximately $1,166 per year on the BMW X5 2024, 10-year gap approximately $7,370. Component 3 is the fuel cost across the ownership window. EPA combined fuel economy on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 front-wheel drive trim at 42 combined miles per gallon. EPA combined on the BMW X5 2024 gas trim at approximately 20 combined miles per gallon. 10-year gap at 15,000 miles per year works out to approximately $10,000 to $12,000, depending on fuel prices across the window. Component 4 is the depreciation across 5 years, which is the largest single component of ownership cost on any vehicle. The Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 retains approximately 53% of value at 5 years, meaning approximately $15,000 of depreciation on a $32,000 purchase. The BMW X5 2024 retains approximately 35% to 40% of value at 5 years, meaning approximately $40,000 to $45,000 of depreciation on a $70,000 purchase. Gap on depreciation approximately $25,000 to $30,000. When you add every one of those components together, the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 total 10-year ownership cost lands in a range that is genuinely half of what the BMW X5 2024 total 10-year ownership cost lands in. The mainstream vehicle at $32,000, driven for a decade, ends up costing you approximately half of what the luxury vehicle at $70,000, driven for the same decade, ends up costing you. On documented data across 4 independent sources, and every one of the previous proof points on this list points at the same conclusion. The Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 wins the annual maintenance cost, wins the major repair probability, wins the long mileage survival, wins the transmission durability engineering, and now wins the total cost of ownership. Proof point number 1 moves to the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3. Every one of the 5 proof points documented on the same conclusion. You have been watching for the last 21 minutes, and I have not acknowledged where the BMW X5 2024 genuinely wins over the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 on specific metrics, then this video does not deserve to be trusted. Honest. So let me be honest about it now. The BMW X5 2024 genuinely delivers a more refined driving experience at highway speeds than the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 does. Steering feel is more communicative on center. Body control through fast corners is meaningfully better. Interior sound insulation is superior, particularly at high speeds. Interior materials on the higher trims are genuinely luxurious in a way the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 does not attempt to match at any trim level. Thoughtful. And the specific status the BMW X5 2024 badge carries in certain professional environments and social circles is real, whether or not you personally value it. If those specific metrics matter more to you than the 5 documented durability and cost metrics I walked you through in the last 20 minutes, then the BMW X5 2024 is the answer for you, and I respect the decision. But if you are the buyer whose primary criterion is that the vehicle continues to run reliably for a decade or 2 decades of ownership at the lowest total cost, the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 wins the case decisively. Now let me speak to the buyer who wants luxury without paying the BMW X5 2024 durability penalty, because there are 2 specific luxury alternatives currently on the American market in 2026 that deliver genuine luxury without failing every one of the proof points on this list. Alternative number 1 is the Lexus NX350H, which is mechanically the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 wearing a luxury wrapper. Same Toyota hybrid Synergy drive engine, same planetary eCVT transmission with 0 traditional wear items, same transferable 10-year, 150,000-mile hybrid battery warranty, all wrapped in the Lexus brand quality control regime that produces 151 problems per 100 vehicles on the J.D. Power 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study, the lowest documented problem rate of any vehicle brand in the entire American automotive market for 4 consecutive years. Base pricing at approximately $45,000, meaningfully less than the BMW X5 2024. Alternative number 2 is the Lexus RX 2024, which applies the same brand advantage in a larger mid-size luxury configuration for the buyer who wants more interior space and can absorb the additional pricing. Alternative number 3 is the Acura MDX, which delivers 3-row luxury capability with the Honda J35 V6 heritage engineering at a price point meaningfully lower than the BMW X5 2024. Every one of those Japanese luxury alternatives passes the same 5 proof points on this list, where the BMW X5 2024 does not. Now let me speak directly to the senior buyers in the comments who have asked me to call this comparison specifically. Your criteria are the criteria this entire video is built around. You do not have patience for a vehicle that will surprise you with a phone call about a repair invoice at year 7. You want physical climate controls and a predictable transmission selector. You want a dealer service experience that respects your time. You want a warranty that will transfer to a family member if the situation calls for it. Every one of those criteria points at the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 decisively over the BMW X5 2024. If your budget will absorb the luxury premium, the Lexus NX 350h honors every one of your criteria while adding the Lexus quality control regime on top. And finally, let me name the additional SUVs currently on lots in 2026 that would fail exactly the same set of proof points I walked you through in this video. The Nissan Rogue with the variable compression turbo engine has been recalled more than 1 million times in 12 months across 3 separate mechanical systems. The Infiniti QX5 uses the same variable compression turbo family as the Nissan Rogue with luxury parts pricing on top. The Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in variant carries the plug-in complexity concern paired to a shrinking dealer network. And the Mazda CX-9 Largo plug-in uses an 8-speed wet clutch transmission that owners describe consistently as a blender with a marble in it. If the BMW X5 2024 does not clear the proof points, none of those vehicles will either. And that is why the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3, or the equivalent Lexus NX 350h in the luxury tier, is the answer regardless of how much you budgeted at the start.
Before you go, I need something specific from you in the comments below, because the next video on this channel is going to be built directly on the data you leave here. If you currently own a BMW X5 2024 or any BMW SUV, drop your model year, your trim, your current mileage, your state, your actual documented annual maintenance cost, and any major repair event you have experienced with the mileage it occurred at. If you cross-shopped a BMW X5 2024 against a Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 or a Lexus NX 350h when you bought, and went with the BMW, tell me why the decision went the way it did and how the ownership window has played out so far. If you own a Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 or a Toyota RAV4 2024 and you have crossed 200,000 miles, I especially want to hear from you because your data confirms or refutes the pattern I walked through in this video. The patterns we find in these comments are how I refine future comparisons and how I catch failure patterns in specific model years before they hit the CarEdge or RepairPal databases in a bigger way. Do not just leave a thumbs up. Leave your actual ownership math. And I want to leave you with 2 things that are coming. The first one is that I have been investigating something specific about how BMW is preparing to address the durability and cost concerns I walked you through in this video with a new powertrain roadmap that could either address the fundamental engineering questions or produce another generation of vehicles with the same underlying failure patterns. I am not ready to publish what I have heard yet because I want one more confirmation from a second source. But when that video drops, it is going to tell every prospective luxury SUV buyer whether the next generation of European luxury vehicles is worth waiting for, or whether the Lexus NX 350h remains the correct luxury answer through the end of the decade. The second thing is that Toyota is preparing a maintenance program announcement before the end of this year that, if the terms hold up, could extend the durability advantage on the Toyota RAV4 2026 X3 even further into the ownership window, at annual cost figures that could push meaningfully below the current $429 RepairPal number. The direction of the announcement is exactly the direction the long-keep buyer has been asking about. Either way, I will be here breaking it down the moment the news lands. Subscribe so you do not have to come looking. I will see you in the next one.